Hi, my name is Gabriela DeSouza, and I am the Consumer Horticulture Agent in New Hanover County. Today, we're going to talk about some of the most common evergreen trees you'll see in the Cape Fear region. There are actually two main families of evergreens in our area, and they're surprisingly easy to tell apart once you know what to look for. The first family is the pine family, or Pinaceae. This includes pines, spruces, firs, and hemlocks. Here in coastal North Carolina, you're mostly going to see pines. The key identification feature for pines is that their needles grow in bundles. Most of our local pines, like loblolly and longleaf, have 3 needles per bundle. Pines also produce large woody pine cones we're all familiar with, often with prickly scales. The second family is the cedar family, or Cupressaceae. Now this is where it gets interesting because the trees in this family look completely different from pines. Instead of needles, cedar family members have scale-like leaves that look like tiny overlapping shingles. In our area, you'll encounter 2 main types. The first is eastern red cedar. Despite its name, it's actually a juniper. You'll find it growing along roadsides and in old fields. It has those scale-like leaves and produces berry-like cones instead of woody pine cones. The bark is reddish-brown and peels in fibrous strips. The second species that we see most commonly in this area is thuja. This one is native to the mountains of North Carolina, but extremely popular in coastal landscaping. It produces small woody cones, unlike the berry-like cones of the eastern red cedar. For more information and identification tips, come visit us at the New Hanover County Cooperative Extension Plant Clinic. We're open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Keep gardening, Cape Fear.